I'm sorry, but employees are not permitted inside this lounge. Please wait outside. The word struck Captain Maya Thompson like a sharp slap to the face. She stood frozen in front of the airline's exclusive private crew lounge, her posture straight, her uniform immaculate, every crisp fold perfectly in place. The golden pilot wings pinned proudly to her chest gleamed under the artificial lighting. Yet, none of it had mattered. The airline staff member behind the reception desk hadn't even glanced at those wings, hadn't acknowledged her uniform, hadn't considered for even a second that she belonged there.
No.
He had seen one thing, her skin, and that was all it had taken for him to dismiss her. This moment? It wasn't new. Maya had encountered it before. Not here, not in this exact situation, but this feeling, that quiet, gnawing sting of being underestimated, dismissed, doubted. It was a sensation so familiar it felt woven into the fabric of her existence. She had felt it back in flight school, where people assumed, without hesitation, that she must be training to be a flight attendant, not a pilot. She had felt it on the tarmac, when passengers stepped off the plane, only to pause and blink in disbelief as she emerged from the cockpit, the one who had just flown them safely across thousands of miles. But today? Today was different. Because today, she had the power to change everything. Maya had dreamed of this life since she was a little girl, growing up in a quiet Alabama town where the skies felt endless. She would lie on the grass, watching the planes carve long, white trails above her, imagining herself sitting in the cockpit, hands steady on the controls, soaring through the clouds. But dreams like hers? They weren't common for girls who looked like her. People told her, again and again, that it was impossible. Her own high school counselor had smiled sympathetically and gently suggested she aim for something a little more realistic. But Maya wasn't the kind of woman to accept limits placed upon her by others. She worked 2 jobs to scrape together enough money for flight lessons. She endured grueling training, endless tests, and the loneliness of being one of the only Black women in an industry dominated by men. She fought for every opportunity, clawed her way through every barrier that tried to keep her out. And after years of sweat, sacrifice, and sheer willpower, she had made it. She was now one of the few Black female captains in the commercial airline industry. And yet here she was, being told to wait outside. Like she was nothing. Maya inhaled deeply, forcing the anger bubbling inside her to stay calm. I am an employee, she said, keeping her voice even. I'm Captain Maya Thompson. I have a flight scheduled in 2 hours. The receptionist's face twitched. He hesitated, glancing at her badge, then at her uniform, as if suddenly seeing it for the first time. And yet, rather than an apology, his response was stiff, almost dismissive. Well, captains usually check in at the main office. This area is for crew members. Maya's jaw tightened. An excuse. She had just watched several male pilots, all dressed exactly like her, walk past this very desk and into the lounge, without so much as a glance from the receptionist. Before she could say another word, a supervisor approached. Relief flickered in Maya's chest for a brief second. Maybe he would correct the situation. But instead, he made it worse. Look, ma'am, he said, his tone laced with irritation. We have policies. If you're causing a disturbance, I'll have to ask security to escort you out. Maya's breath hitched. A disturbance? She hadn't raised her voice. She hadn't done anything except ask for the respect she deserved. Yet here they were, ready to call security on her. That was it. The final straw. Maya didn't argue.
She didn't beg.
She didn't justify her presence in a place where she had every right to be. Instead, she pulled out her phone and made a call. Hello, Mr. Reynolds? This is Captain Thompson. I need you to come to the lounge.
Now.
Within minutes, the CEO of the airline, Richard Reynolds, strode through the doors. His gaze swept over the room, taking in every detail. Maya, standing tall in her captain's uniform. The 2 employees, now looking uneasy. The other crew members, watching in uncomfortable silence. The receptionist and the supervisor immediately changed their demeanor. Mr. Reynolds, there was a No, there wasn't. Reynolds cut in, his voice sharp. Then he turned to Maya, his expression sincere. Captain Thompson, I sincerely apologize for this unacceptable behavior. Silence fell over the room. The two employees paled, their faces draining of color. Because what they didn't know, what they hadn't even considered, was that Maya Thompson wasn't just any pilot. She was a key figure in the airline's diversity initiative. She worked directly with the CEO to increase opportunities for underrepresented pilots. And more than that, she had the authority to make real changes. Reynolds turned to the two employees, his next words firm and unwavering. You're both suspended. Effective immediately. This company will not tolerate discrimination against our staff or our passengers. Then, without hesitation, he looked back at Maya. We're shutting this location down for immediate training and reform. This will never happen again. Maya nodded. This wasn't about punishing two people. It was about fixing a broken system. And today? Today, she had taken a huge step toward doing just that. The news spread fast. A passenger, who had overheard everything, had secretly recorded the exchange, and by the time the video hit the internet, it had millions of views. People rallied behind Maya, calling her a symbol of strength and resilience. Young black girls reached out to her, saying that because of her, they now believed they could be pilots too. Airlines across the country took notice, implementing stronger diversity and inclusion policies. Because that day, Maya didn't just stand up for herself. She stood up for every single person who had ever been told they didn't belong. And in doing so, she made sure that from now on, they did.